Right now, beneath the feet of 40 million people, something is winding tighter than it has in 1,000 years. You can't feel it. The ground looks solid. The freeways hum. The palm trees sway. Los Angeles glitters in the sun. But under all of it, two cracks in the earth are loading up with a force that has to go somewhere. And in June of 2026, scientists announced the part nobody wanted to hear. The stress is now the highest it has been in a millennium. Most people know the name of one of these cracks. The San Andreas, the movie star of fault lines, the one Hollywood loves to tear California apart with. But the San Andreas has a quieter, angrier sibling running right beside it, the San Jacinto. And the truth is stranger than the disaster films. The real danger may not be either fault alone. It may be the moment they decide to work together. Let's start with why California is breaking in the first place. California sits on the boundary between two great tectonic plates, the Pacific Plate sliding northwest, the North American Plate holding its ground. They grind past each other a few centimeters a year, about as fast as your fingernails grow. It sounds gentle. It isn't. The plates don't slide smoothly. They catch. They lock. And while they're locked, the strain doesn't stop building. It just gets stored in the rock itself, like a spring being wound by a hand that never lets go. Real quick, while that spring keeps winding, do me a favor and hit the like button. It's the one kind of pressure that actually helps. It tells YouTube to show this to more people. Okay, back underground. Eventually, the rock can't hold it. It snaps. And all that stored strain releases in seconds. That is an earthquake. The longer a fault stays locked and quiet, the more it has saved up for the day it finally breaks. And the southern San Andreas has been quiet for a very long time. The last great rupture on its southern stretch was around 1680, more than 3 centuries of silence, 3 centuries of winding. Geologists estimate that section breaks roughly every 180 years. By that math, it isn't just due, it is long overdue. So how do we know how much pressure is actually down there? You can't put a stress gauge 3 miles into the crust. So in 2026, a team of geophysicists did the next best thing. They built a computer model that reconstructed 800 years of stress, fault by fault, across Southern California, and published it in the Journal of Geophysical Research. They added up every quake, every slow creep, every nudge one fault gives another, going back centuries. What they found is the reason this story is everywhere right now. Multiple fault segments are sitting at, or above, the highest stress levels seen in the last 1,000 years. And the single most loaded piece of the whole system was not the famous San Andreas. It was a segment of the San Jacinto, carrying about 3.6 megapascals of stress, more than it has held in living memory. That matters because of where these two faults meet. There is a place north of San Bernardino called Cajon Pass. If you've driven into Los Angeles from the desert, you've gone right through it, past the train tracks and the truck stops, without knowing you were crossing one of the most important seams on the continent. Because right there, the San Andreas and the San Jacinto come within striking distance of each other. And scientists have a name for a spot like this. They call it an earthquake gate. Picture it like a closed door between the two faults. When one fault ruptures and races toward that door, one of two things happens. The gate holds, and the quake stops, staying on a single fault. Or the gate opens, and the rupture jumps across, lighting up both faults at once, like fire leaping from one fuse to another. For most of history, that gate has mostly held. But the new model shows the rock all around it is now wound tighter than ever. And a stressed gate is a gate that is far easier to blow open. So what happens if it does open? A rupture confined to one fault is already a catastrophe. But a joint rupture, tearing through Cajon Pass and running down both faults together, is a different kind of monster. The study suggests a combined break could reach a magnitude of 7.4 to 7.8. And because magnitude is not linear, that is not a little worse. It is dramatically worse. A longer tear, more ground shaking over a far larger area with the violence aimed straight at the 11 million people of the Los Angeles basin. We actually have a detailed rehearsal of a day like this. In 2008, the U.S. Geological Survey ran a scenario called the Great Shakeout, modeling a magnitude 7.8 on the southern San Andreas. The numbers were staggering. Around 1,800 deaths, 50,000 injuries, over $200 billion in damage. Water and power lines, gas mains, highways and rail sliced clean through where they crossed the fault. And here is the part people forget. The shaking might last for 2 terrifying minutes. The recovery would take years. Because Los Angeles is not just a city near a fault, it is a city built on a deep basin of soft sediment. And soft ground doesn't dampen earthquake waves. It traps them. It rings like a bowl, amplifying the shaking and stretching it out long after the fault itself goes still. Now sit with the full picture. 2 faults, side by side, one famous, one underestimated, both wound to a 1,000-year high, a gate between them under more pressure than in centuries, and a clock on the southern San Andreas that ran out of time generations ago. But here is what the scientists are careful to say, and what the headlines often leave out. Highest stress in 1,000 years does not mean tomorrow. A fault can stay loaded for years, even decades, before it finally lets go. This is not a prediction of a date. No one can give you that. It is something more honest and more unsettling. It is a measurement of how loaded the gun already is. And that changes what this story is really about. It was never just about rock and pressure. It is about the strange bargain of living on a restless planet. 40 million people built one of the greatest cities on Earth directly on top of a seam that will, someday, tear open. They did it anyway. We always do. So the next time you see that calm California skyline, remember what is underneath it. Not solid ground. A spring wound tighter than in 1,000 years, waiting beside a gate that is straining to open. The Earth is not still. It is just patient. And it has been keeping the pressure quietly the whole time for a debt it always, eventually, comes to collect.